Bioshock is an iconic retro-futuristic video game series created by Ken Levine, published by 2K and developed by several studios across its long run, including Irrational Games and 2K Marin. The Bioshock games combine first-person shooter and role-playing elements, being at least partially immersive sims, letting players pick and choose how they want to deal with the various combat encounters and puzzles the game's going to throw at them. Using a variety of weapons and plasmids, tonics which provide superhuman abilities to the player, you'll likely recognise the underwater setting of the first game, or the big daddies that were popularised by it. The series consists of 3 main games and 2 DLC. Bioshock and Bioshock 2 take place in the 1960s in the fictional underwater city of Rapture. Bioshock Infinite is thematically and narratively tied to the first games, but takes place in 1912 aboard the floating city of Columbia. It is without a doubt one of the best-selling franchises of all time. And in both Columbia and Rapture, the players are thrust into a hidden city, with various political commentaries across both games. Rapture's meant to be an objectivist utopia, and Columbia a nationalist one. Obviously these places cater to some people better than others. The games themselves feature us fighting through sunken cities and floating blimps as we deal with what's left of these places as they go to the wolves. Strap in for a long video as we'll be exploring the narrative, gameplay and themes of the first 3 titles. We'll also be looking at Minerva's Den and Burial at Sea. Expect spoilers as we dive in. Get it! This section will be looking at Bioshock 1. It's 1960 and we crash land in the middle of the sea. And after entering the only structure nearby, we're transported into the underwater city of Rapture. Built in the 40s by magnate Andrew Ryan, it was once a utopia to some, free from government and religious control. Our protagonist, known only as Jack, is thrust in from the outside and we have to navigate the ruins of this place following a civil war, societal collapse, and the drug-fueled mutation of the populace. This game gives us access to a variety of weapons and powers as we deal with these mutants, but has enough RPG elements that you can really make your own build and hopefully get out of the city in one piece through your own means. Alongside this, we learn about the people who still call the place home and could choose to rescue some of them or doom them to a watery fate. The game starts aboard a plane in the mid-Atlantic. Our protagonist remembers his parents telling him he was special, he was born to do great things.
They told me, son, you're special.
Right as the plane crashes and the title card jumps up. We swim to a nearby lighthouse, dodging the remnants of the plane as we go, the thing consuming our field of vision. The place is ornate and, well, speaks for itself. With no way to go but down, we enter a bathysphere and get a lovely message from the city's creator, an advert with it too.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God.
Ryan, like most of us, likely believes that every man deserves to get out of the system what he puts in. Hell, he believes there shouldn't be a system at all, at least in the beginning. You could describe Ryan at this point of the message as an anarcho-capitalist, believing that the free market should provide all, there should be little government intervention. We get this lovely shot of us floating around Rapture. Now this place is plucked from time, looking more like it was built in the 20s to 30s, but it does seem well built up. The only denizen we actually see is a man wielding a giant diving suit, and the voices of others describing our plane crash. The sphere reaches its dock, and we see one of the voices talking to a lady, who takes him out "I know what you did last summer" style. Oh, so this is a horror game then. And she's now trying to cut her way inside. She actually does a good job before giving up. We pick up a radio and make our first friend in Atlas.
I don't know how you survived that plane crash, but I've never been one to question Providence. I'm Atlas, and I aim to keep you alive.
Who for whatever reason is trying to save us. Atlas wants us to draw the woman out of hiding, and whatever's wrong with her, she ain't normal. As we play bait, security drones appear and start blasting her. We take a wrench and break our way out of this foyer, being immediately ambushed by a flaming sofa and another splicer, who we take down with a bit of spanner action. We discover what's actually causing this mayhem. In Rapture, they developed a way to rewrite genetic codes to give people powers. We inject our first plasmid to show this, and it looks like we're about to be snuffed out given our reaction.
Your genetic code is being rewritten. Just hold on and everything will be fine.
The splicers seem to be scared by this thing they call a Big Daddy, a giant diving suit walking around chaperoning a little zombified girl. Don't worry, things will start to make sense soon, but those creepy little girls with their needles used to creep me right out as a kid. We get up unscathed now with the ability to hurl lightning bolts, like most crackheads, at the enemies in the environment. Discovering the first use of this, we open a blocked door and encounter part of our plane from earlier. Some of the ways this game tells you the story here are environmental, other times through voice logs or character exposition. Our first nugget of story comes through as we hit the elevators here, not only seeing the keystones of Ryan's utopia in the background, but given our first task. Despite us being trapped here, Atlas would like our help in finding his family. They're trapped in Neptune's bounty, and if we can get them out, he will say we can leave too. Plasmids are the reason things have changed here in Rapture. That technology, while great, has destroyed people both physically and mentally. Friends turning on each other, mothers turning on children. Well, allegedly.
Today and not.
This is just from Atlas, but it does make sense. The splicers, as they're called here, are just tweakers, and they seem just as crazy as you'd anticipate. We can use our new plasmid and our weapons to pick them apart though, even being able to use the environment against them, like shocking them when they're in puddles and things like that. Back on the topic of plasmids, the little girl we saw earlier was just one of many, a little factory that's used to produce and recycle Adam, a genetic material needed for plasmid use. It's possibly the most valuable thing here in Rapture. Everyone wants it, everyone needs it, and her Big Daddy keeps her safe while she gathers it. Both of these creatures are results of experiments on the regular folk by the powers that be here at Rapture, warping them in equal ways to serve the needs of the Great Chain. We found our way to a flooded metro station. Ideally from here we can head to Neptune's bounty. Of course, as soon as we go in that direction,
You're trapped! Gonna try to override the exit from here!
So tell me, friend, which one of the bitches sent you? The KGB wolf or the CIA jackal?
Atlas believes Ryan found us, and for whatever reason, he's the one blocking our access. I'd imagine the man who built a megacity to escape the government might not like uninvited guests, but if we head into the medical pavilion, we can restore access locally. We'll also see Ryan himself thinking we're a government agent, not really knowing which government we're from. Thinking we're a spook, he sicks some splicers on us just as Atlas gets the doors open to the medical wing. Bioshock isn't actually a horror game necessarily, but it's good at building suspense in moments like this. It's part of the storytelling of the game, those indirect moments. There's snooping for audio logs, and then there's these scripted sections that all balance out quite well. The next section in the pavilion allows us to get more of a peer into the fall of Rapture and what unregulated surgeons can get up to. Immediately as we enter, we see a poster for the big cheese of this area, Dr. Steinman. He'll become important later. When I was recording, I didn't even notice they introduced you to him so early. I was too engrossed by the hacking minigame they introduced, where you have to make a load of pipes line up. You'll be doing this a hell of a lot throughout the game. We find an audio log by Diane McClintock, a name we would have heard before in the last area, Ryan's partner who had been attacked during a New Year's Eve event.
Dr. Steinman said he'd release me today. Ryan didn't come to see me since the New Year's attack, not once. But Dr. Steinman was very attentive. He told me that once the scar tissue was gone, he was gonna fix me right up.
Steinman was the surgeon working on her, and he was quite attentive, had promised to make Diane prettier than any girl she'd ever seen. He sounds quite nice until we uncover a voice log from him, where he just sounds like a crazy artist whose muse has run away from him.
Could we really change anything? No. But Adam gives us the means to do it. And Ryan frees us from the phony ethics that held us back. Change your look, change your sex, change your race. It's yours to change. Nobody else's.
Talking about the ethics of medical practitioners, through the use of Adam, any feature could be cosmetically changed. Race, sex, appearance, well, more than cosmetic, down to the genetic level. Atlas also weighs in that Steinman isn't exactly kind, and he's unsure if the guy is still human. We will need to track him down to get a key to get back on our beaten path though. This of course involves a lot of fighting against the splicers still camping out here. The combat is really fun. Alongside plasmids, our weapons have a bit of modularity, with us able to give them positive upgrades, use different types of ammo for them, and even use gene tonics to boost certain proficiencies. It's a fun system, but I am going to be glossing over it to focus on the story. We approach the surgery wing, looking for Steinman, discovering what appears to be ghosts. Steinman, before the fall, had become a bit crazy from Adam exposure, stating that as his tools improved, so did his standard of perfection. Flesh could be moulded like clay now, and with that, he sounds more like an artist than a practitioner. Bear in mind, Rapture doesn't have nationalised healthcare. Ryan was against government handouts, and so all of Steinman's patients would have been private customers paying for his service. My plan for dealing with these former customers is to go for headshots and hack any sort of turret or drone I could to help me out. Ryan's slightly against that. Ammo is fairly plentiful at this point in the game though. Now, the route to Steinman is actually blocked by a burst water pipe, the ocean water freezing over, and we'll need to find a flame plasmid to get past this obstacle. In fact, this game includes a variety of puzzles and obstacles that require a plasmid to advance. I imagine the place signposted as the Eternal Flame that catches a light when we go near it might contain something of use. Entering in, we hear more of Steinman's fall, that he was inspired by Picasso and abstract art in his surgery.
When Picasso became bored of painting people, he started representing them as cubes and other abstract forms. The world called him a genius. I've spent my entire surgical career creating the same tired shapes.
Started to abhor symmetry. We sneak through a secure set of corridors in the morgue and find our flame plasmid, advert included. It's got a great introduction too when we use it to take out some very oily splicers. You're probably wondering why the tweakers are coming to Ryan's beck and call to fight us, and Atlas tells us that Ryan has been pumping pheromones into the place to keep them pliable. It's probably a long-term exposure thing, so we seem to be unaffected. When we pass through the frozen obstacle, we get a reward, more obstacles. There's some barricades we'll need to blow up, and so we head into an area they're testing out a telekinesis plasmid, learning about a German scientist recruited to Rapture, Tenenbaum, das Wunderkind. Obviously, the mustache man cared a lot about eugenics, and Tenenbaum had gained some experience there, experimenting on her fellow prisoners. But her interests weren't on racial phenotypes, but on what makes one man smart where another man may be dumb, or what genes cause strength, etc. I suppose I've just outlined racial phenotypes there. But one of the other scientists, Dr. Suchong, his audio tapes show a disdain for Tenenbaum.
Sometimes I pity the little freak. Such a tiny imagination. Content to sit there with the tanks of Adam tweaking and optimizing.
She seems like a moderate compared to the other scientists here. By the time we encounter Steinman, it's clear he's as loopy as the rest of the splicers around here, seeing beauty as a moral obligation, his own version of beauty that is. We throw a bomb at his doorway, using our telekinesis plasmid, and we can see some of the artist's work, having mangled the face of this poor woman here. He's fortified the wing, likely to stop both the splicers, but us as well. You can turn the tables on these machines by hacking them, and coming to his surgery room, hearing a lovely voice note of him hallucinating true beauty.
Aphrodite is walking the halls, shimmering like a scalpel. Steinman.
Interrupting his surgery, Steinman is outraged. He just wants to make these people beautiful, but well...
That one too fat! This one too tall! This one too symmetrical! And now... What's this goddess? An intruder! He's ugly! Ugly! Ugly!
We take the man out. He can be a bit of a handful in terms of a first boss, but you can abuse the shock smack combo on him just to kill him easily. Some guides recommended luring him out to the turrets, but I never needed to struggle with him that much. Atlas then asks us would we kindly go back to the emergency access. We get a few flashes of our memories as we head back. We also get our second encounter with the Little Sisters, Atlas calling it our chance to get some Adam. Tenenbaum is seemingly looking after these Little Sisters, and Atlas reveals she was the one who originally made them. It's a bit of a weird position she's in. We've got a choice to make. We can kill the sister for extra Adam, or we can spend that on upgrades or plasmids, or we can reverse the mutations and cleanse the sister with a promise of a reward later down the line. It's whether you want your Adam now or you want something unknown later. The game has a morality system tied to these sisters that will determine your ending and a few other details. Either pull the widgety grow out of them, or use this new plasmid to turn them human again. Atlas doesn't seem to approve of us saving the girls, but Tenenbaum has our thanks. We get some upgrades from the Gatherer's Garden, and then do a bit of optional work taking out a Big Daddy to get a second little sister. There will be a few of these spread about the levels from now on, each having their own attack styles and weaknesses to overcome. It's recommended you fight all the Big Daddies you can, you'll need that Adam. I found the electric slugs work best against bouncers from a shotgun. When you've got your little sister on your own, you can either harvest or save them. It's time to head to Port Neptune and save Atlas's family. Our bathysphere pulls up and we can see Ryan's take on smugglers. At one point or another, Rapture was blocked off from the surface, and it's unclear at this moment when or why, but for whatever reason, Atlas deems Ryan the cause of the place being driven to ruin. Bioshock always interested me in the sense that it seems the time of Rapture has come and gone, most of it in ruins, but it's clear some infrastructure is still running. Some of the higher ups are still around, and are they just playing king in these ruins? Or is there a functional part of the city that we as a player just don't visit? We pass by Fontaine's Fisheries, a name we've heard before in one audio log or another, of Souchong working for Fontaine before he did Ryan. The name will become more prominent, but just keep it handy for now. The head of security, Sullivan, informs us through an audio log that the bathyspheres are under lockdown, only Ryan and his inner circle can use them. There's a hitch though, anyone in their genetic ballpark can actually make use of them. The keys are unreliable, pinning us as a relation of someone important in Rapture, despite us crashing here and having no clue about the place. Things are fishy, even for a dockyard. We explore around, essentially a smuggler's cove, the whole place having as much water and fish as you'd expect, but the area serves to show us two things. One, that this Fontaine character had a gang working against Ryan's best interests, whom Ryan had sicked his security forces on, hunting down the honcho himself. The various audio logs also reveal he was a clever criminal, always finding himself away from any evidence of his wrongdoing. The second thing it shows is that we'll be using this research camera to get pictures of our splicer enemies. Peach Wilkins is blocking our entrance deeper into the fisheries, but asks us to use this camera to take some snaps for him. You can take photographs of enemies to gain research points. These will automatically give you damage boosts, new perks, and even abilities in some cases. You'll quickly discover it's a very useful strat to spam free pictures of each enemy before you kill them to fill those tracks up. It's a bit hammy of a mechanic, but useful rewards do come from it. I don't think it was the best implemented though. Weirdly, I never remembered finding it strange when I was a child, but maybe modern mechanics have outshined it. Port Neptune seems to be a den for the criminal underground, smugglers bringing things from the surface and other such criminal acts to get a buck. Sullivan manages to close in towards this smuggling ring. Everything points towards Fontaine's involvement. The city itself is filled with artists and scientists, not armed thugs, but I suppose Adam and genetic modification levels the playing field somewhat. You would look at any of these splicers and not one of them would stand out as the academic type. Fontaine's businesses actually pull so much capital through the Great Chain, this free market, that if he was to be taken out it would cause a huge rift within the city. One of Ryan's advisors states that they can't touch the business even if they take Fontaine out, or there will be revolts. We take our photos of the spider splicer around here, yet the splicers split into various different types. Leadheads, thugs, spiders, nitro. And Peach offers to let us advance further if we store our weapons away as we pass. Again, very fishy for a dockyard, but Atlas does mention he can't take our plasmids away. Wilkins, as you can expect, turns on us as soon as we enter his abode, ambushing us with a whole host of splicers. We can grab some weapons from them, but it's important to hack the turrets around here to make life easier. When we take him out, regain our weapons, we can discover an upgrade station courtesy of Fontaine Futuristics. Atlas seems to know a lot about the smugglers here, telling us the submarine bay we're looking for will be hidden. As we uncover it, a few ghosts spell out how dangerous this man Fontaine was. Wilkins' audio logs do too. Everyone was scared of him. Wilkins confirms Fontaine has died though. It's time to actually meet Atlas firsthand within the smuggler's hideout. He's right outside the submarine bay with his family trapped inside one of the subs. He needs our help to actually get to them. Wilkins had some audio logs here talking about a problem with the entirely free market.
We all come down here. Figured we'd all be part of Ryan's great chain. Turns out Ryan's chain is made of gold, and ours are the sort with the big iron ball around your ankle. He's up in Fort Frolic banging fashion models. We're down in this dump yanking guts out of fish.
Ryan and his kind are up in the towers shagging models, while people like him are down at the docks gutting fish. Fontaine claimed he was one of the people, hence why so many people threw their lot in with him. Despite a warning from Ryan, we press our control button for the door, locking Atlas away as he heads for the sub. He actually seems like a normal person. He calls for his family and starts messing with the controls right as Ryan taunts us, releasing spider splicers down there, and taunting that we can only stand here and watch Atlas die. Atlas falls back, asking us to get his family out as we fight through the tunnels of the hideout. The splicers Ryan sent after us are putting up quite the fight. The sub explodes and Ryan realises we're not a CIA spook, threatening to snuff us out if he can't figure out what we are.
You ooze in like an assassin, and then you try to sneak out like a thief. You're no CIA spook. Who are you? Why have you come here?
Atlas tells us to get to Arcadia, seemingly shaken, obviously his family's just died, and we get a first log from Fontaine.
Spent the morning jawing with that crowd scientist.
It seems he was working with Tenenbaum while he was funding her to make him a lot of money. With her help, Fontaine gets a big slice of the pie of the atom in the city. With its addictive nature, it seems clear why most people would be buying with him rather than Ryan. When we get to Arcadia, Atlas stresses Ryan is the enemy, killing Atlas's family and stopping our escape via submarine. Ryan then comes at us, accusing us of being a thief in the night who's come to rob his pockets. Atlas wants us to make our way to Ryan to take him out, to pay the debts in full and actually escape. Arcadia seems a lot greener than most places, home to a variety of trees and actual gardens many leagues under the sea. We can also see examples of where folk try to smuggle in religious icons, something I imagine Ryan wouldn't agree with. The place is home to splicers that can teleport around as well, aptly named Houdini splicers. They form an almost pagan cult, wearing wicker masks and providing a bit more of that horror theming to the game here. Notes from Ryan showed he refused to regulate plasmids, his faith in the free market being strong. It's great to see how that worked out for him. Ryan talks to us directly, telling us that he was a businessman once topside, and he'd built a forest. Congress had forced him to build a national park there, and his response was to burn it to the ground, stating that God didn't plant the seeds, he did. He's having a tantrum, and following that suit, he then burns to ground his second forest, poisoning all the trees here, and getting rid of the oxygen production in Rapture. There's a scientist known as Langford who might be able to reverse the damage, and if not, everyone's a goner. We've run to find her, and she asks us to grab a sample of Rosa Gallica from the grotto. Splicers then attack us, angry we've ruined their home, but we grab the flower and send it back to Langford. She invites us up to her office, and things look optimistic. We go through a lab, the place has some tight security, and just as we think we found a nice person, it then becomes clear Langford had some involvement in Agent Orange, and was hired after that to reverse the damage and create foliage. When we get to her office, Ryan reads her contract, and well, you can see.
Julie, we made a business deal, you and I, did we not? Money changed hands. Let me read to you from the agreement. Section 3, subsection 4.
Mr.
Ryan Industries maintains exclusive rights to the creation, use, and exploitation of the Lazarus vector. Ownership is civilization.
Wait! No! Please!
Without it,
So goes our hope for the trees, or so we think, as she scrawls her safe code on the gassed out window. In her safe is the recipe for a cure. We then go through various areas of the Arboretum to gather components for it, including bee enzymes, distilled water, and we see more of the farmers' markets here and can imagine the peace that living in such a place might cause before it obviously all went to pot. We're fed dribs and drabs of story here, Tenenbaum creating the first little sisters and then activating her maternal instinct, leading to this caretaker role we see now. Ryan and Sushong altering the recipe of plasmids to make the populace of Rapture more open to mental suggestion. Civil War pushing Ryan away from his ideals. Atlas seeming to lead a group in the civil war against Ryan following Fontaine's death. And that's enough of a motivator for him to abandon some of his ideals, becoming a hypocritical politician for the so-called greater good of Rapture. We start cooking the Lazarus Vector as it's known in Langford's office with this cool Defend the Lab section as Ryan sends his hypnotised splicers to take us out. We can hack all of their security drones, set up plasmid traps, and really dig our heels in as this gets messy. One plasmid lets me befriend a Big Daddy to help too, until he caught a stray bullet off me, and things went south very quickly. When we do fix the trees, we head to the rolling hills to stick it to the man, and started to feel like we're the last hurrah for Atlas's rebellion, rather than a passenger just trying to escape. Ryan then deduces we're working for Atlas and expresses disdain for this. There's this one voice log of him describing this great chain he's built, this political philosophy around which I find some sort of irony in us seeing these voice notes as we learn that Ryan took back steps, revealing his hypocrisies and backtracking. Unfortunately, to get to Ryan, we'll need to use the Rapture Metro, and we're introduced to Ryan's favourite artist, Sander Cohen, who's a bit avant-garde. He blocks out our radio signal and invites us for an evening with himself.
To an evening with Sander Cohen.
Bunny masks and the warped bodies of splicers pose like statues floating into view. We're forced to play ball for the moment, heading to a grander hall to see one of his disciples playing the piano, but not to Cohen's taste, despite him playing exceptionally well to anyone else's standard. Cohen has made this section of Rapture into living art, and our involvement here is taking pictures of his disciples' dying moments. Cohen is assembling a masterpiece involving the dying moments of his disciples, and he wants us to be his cameraman. Cohen's sections are exceptionally creepy, and you get this overwhelming feeling you're a fly in a spider's web, despite us playing along and actually getting rewarded for it. I'll gloss over bits here, but we hunt down his disciples and reveal just how unhinged Cohen is as we progress through various art halls and speakeasies here.
Curse. I want to take the ears off, but I can't. It's my curse. It's my fucking curse. I want to take the ears off. Please, take them off. Please.
It's one of my favourite sections, and it's much better experienced than seen, especially with moments when mannequins start popping in and out of the woodwork and attacking us. There's a similar trick in Condemned Criminal Origins. When we do get all the photos, Cohen comes and congratulates us with suitable fanfare, and the man is grotesque looking. He surprisingly lets us go to the metro, but you can choose to kill him here for his crimes. We're not going to do so we can encounter him later. Cohen isn't actually Ryan's biggest fan either, after following the man down here and losing his opportunities on the surface. The metro leads us to Hephaestus Station, the power plant for Rapture. Atlas asks us,
"Now would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch? It's time to finish this."
As we head deeper, we can see what Ryan did to his dissenters, and they're all nailed up outside his office like trophies. His office is locked away, and we'll need to overload some of the power plant apparatus to get in there. We fight through the power plant, seeing the wonder of geothermal and the remnants of Atlas's last push, as one dissenter assembled a partial EMP that we can fix with parts strewn about here. Some are still attached to Big Daddies, but we don't worry about that, and we set the thing to pop, actually heading in to see the big cheese. As we get closer, Ryan doesn't seem too scared, rather just matter of fact, as he assures us Atlas will stab us in the back. Perhaps he's just being bitter, but I don't really trust him either. We fight through to Ryan's office, and he seems to have hit self-destruct on Rapture, wanting to burn it rather than let Atlas plunder it. The same story as his forest from above. We enter central control and speak to Ryan over the speakers at first. He knows he can't fight us hand to hand, but he does try to dissuade us, calling us his greatest disappointment, and again asserting he'll be burning the city rather than letting Atlas have it. A room here hidden behind vents reveals something absolutely shocking. Sushong work on mind control and the words "would you kindly" on the board. Sushong had managed to get an activation phrase within a child subject, "would you kindly" being that phrase, even getting them to kill their own pet.
Break her neck for me. What? Break that sweet puppy's neck. No, please. Break that puppy's neck. No. No.
As we enter Ryan's office, this is built upon. We never had any memories, no farm, no family, the airplane even seems wrong. Did it crash or did we hijack it and send it down at the right spot? Ryan lets us in, revealing we're the test subject.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Sit. would you kindly? Stand, would you kindly? Kill! Juices!
Atlas has been using us from the start of the game. Ryan really pushes home we're less than a man, just a slave. His dying moments are actually just so bitter. A final I'm right, you're wrong as we take him out. Atlas tells us to put Ryan's key in the off switch, and then the mask drops. We weren't dealing with Atlas at all. Well, we were. Atlas and Fontaine are the same person. Atlas is just an alias. We've taken out his greatest enemy and delivered the city to him on a silver platter. Security drones flood the room, but we follow the little sisters we've saved to safety, falling into a dark pit somewhere else, Tenenbaum's safe house. We awaken under surgical lights, and we're told that we were originally born here, in Rapture. It's confirmed we were Fontaine's tool, but Tenenbaum owed us a debt for saving so many little sisters. She's undone some of the genetic conditioning, but Fontaine still has some keys to access us. We can see the young girls we've saved here. There's obviously a creepier sight if you've been harvesting them to this point. We follow one of these girls, and we're told we need to go to Sushong's flat, that it might give us some answers as he was the architect behind the experiments. Atlas still has our comm number and tells us to go and get stepped on by a big daddy, seemingly upset when we don't react. I've no clue how he can see our reaction here with no cameras. The would you kindly trick doesn't work anymore, but he does have other tricks to pull on us. Fontaine's going to continue to drop our max health over various intervals if we can't find a way to undo this conditioning. We fight through various apartment buildings, sandbags around showing the scenes of this previous rebellion and civil war. We're behind enemy lines here, and we can see how the rich lived before most of them were ousted. Lovely hardwood floors, actual brickwork instead of sea windows and steel tiles. The place is heavily built up. We can actually find Cohen here in his own apartment if you didn't kill him earlier, and see his latest project, just two splicers dancing. If we interrupt them, he'll come down and we can fight him directly, netting an achievement for it. Sushong's back door was a compound that could undo the programming. Now it was sent to Tenenbaum's massive apartment, which has already been tossed over by Fontaine's goons. We need to head up an elevator to his apartment, face off against some goons, and then grab the compound they'd stolen. It's in his office. It will cause our plasmids now to constantly switch until we find a second dose. We fight our way to Sushong's labs, finding his corpse after at work for getting the big daddies to imprint on the little sisters finally found some fruit. We need to take a bathysphere to Point Prometheus to settle things once and for all. When we sneak through Fontaine's old base of operations, we can see what became of Diane McClintock, Ryan's old mistress. She became one of the rebels, but was likely killed after discovering the secret of Atlas being an alias. I really like for all of the characters introduced in the audio logs, they tend to have sections in each area of the game, really a through line so you can see their own individual journeys. There's a lot to uncover if you just look in those dark corners. Fontaine escapes deeper into Point Prometheus, an area where big daddies were made and bound to little sisters. We need to get one of those sisters to open this door for us, and unfortunately Tenenbaum can't command them. We need to almost become a big daddy, fighting through the labs to don their armour, adopt their scent and change our voice, luring a little sister through the testing facilities wherein they'll gather Adam and we protect them, making use of our traps and hacked turrets to protect us both. It's a nice twist on the normal gameplay loop. We take one last elevator to meet Fontaine, and for whatever reason our perspective shifts here. Presumably we've taken the suit off, but I don't know how we could have. Fontaine remarks we were like a son to him, right before we begin a boss fight. He's juiced up so much at him, he looks more like a bronze god than a man, and you'll need to throw everything you can at him. Like genuinely, just spam all your ammo at him, the heavy hitters as well. Eventually he'll jump into an injector chair where we can drain some Adam from him. You just rinse and repeat. When he's fully drained, he knocks us back and it looks like we're going to lose.
I sent you topside. I called you back, showed you what you was capable of. Even that life you thought you had, that was something I dreamed up and had tattooed inside your head. Now if you don't call that family, I know what is. And now...
The Little Sisters drain him right as he gives his little evil villain monologue speech, finally dispatching the man and leading us to our potential endings. If you saved all the Little Sisters, they'll offer us the city, giving us Ryan's genetic key. But we don't want the key, and instead take the Little Sisters topside, freeing them from their fate and giving them a chance at a real life. Education, marriage, and we die with them around our bedside as a family. If we harvest all the sisters, we steal the city key, and then send the splicers topside to take what we want from the world, starting with a nuclear warhead. We almost supplant Fontaine as we launch this assault on the surface. By the time the credits roll on Bioshock, it's clear the story is far more than a trip through a ruined city. So you arrive in Rapture by chance, allegedly, surviving a plane crash and following a mysterious voice from Atlas. He asks us would we kindly help him, and that begins our straightforward mission. Then quickly unravelling into a dark journey through the failed dream of Andrew Ryan, a man who built Rapture to escape the parasites of the surface and then becoming one of them, following the tactics of those he abhorred on the surface when he bit off more than he can chew, not being the biggest player in this free market of his. The city falls apart, it's overrun by splicers with powers you might as well call magic, and it's all torn by this past power struggle. Then comes the twist, obviously, would you kindly, a slave obeys. Those words reveal everything we've done was never our choice to begin with, we were being controlled the whole time. The twist was exceptional at the time, turning us from hero to puppet and just standing in as one of those iconic moments. We confront Ryan, seeing him demand his own death just to prove a point about free will. We uncover our origins as this genetically engineered MK Ultra agent, and whether you choose to harvest or save the Little Sisters, it just deepens the emotional weight of it all. Bioshock is a classic story, with all these threads weaved through when the best and brightest from across the world are just given free time and resources, and they can develop what they want in these wild varieties of directions. Everything in there is so piecemeal, like you've got these super soldier big daddies and alongside them turrets that are made out of office chairs. It's such a cool setting that just continues into our next part as we look at Bioshock 2.
A man chooses. A slave obeys. Come in.
Bioshock 2. Many years have passed since the first game, and we, Subject Delta, a Big Daddy, have awakened to find and rescue our little sister was taken from us. The controls remain similar, with us having access to new weapons and some new plasmids, as we explore through different parts of Rapture to the first game. Our foil in this case being Sophia Lamb, the dissident collectivist who has managed to pull together her own family following the fall of Ryan and Atlas. The gameplay does reflect our change in time and body, allowing us to fight more ardently against greater foes and to engage more with the Little Sisters as we hunt down our Eleanor. Our game starts a couple years before the first, when the paint wasn't peeling off the walls of Rapture. Subject Delta takes his little sister out for a spin, and we can see from his perspective the girl looks normal despite them normally looking much more pallid. We enter a soiree of sorts looking for Adam when some splicers grab her. We do a whole lot of damage to two of them, given we're like a dump truck on legs, and one comes at us with the Control Big Daddy plasmid. A woman named Sophia Lamb steals our little sister from us, compelling us to shoot ourselves.
Fire.
Years pass, and when we wake up, or more accurately, resurrect, Tenenbaum is in our radio, and we can see how Rapture, the one we know and love, is now ruins and decay. A new Big Daddy-esque creature is hopping around into a room that locks, and we'll need to use a shock plasmid to advance. When we turn on the power in this section, Tenenbaum can actually speak to us.
Ah, at last a signal. You, who are bringing this dead city to life, listen. My name, it is Tannenbaum. I know who you are, and I am in much need of your help. Please.
She tells us her name and asks for our assistance. She wants us to meet her at the Atlantic Express train station. We advance on, actually finding a voice log from Sophia Lamb, talking of her daughter. Lamb is a psychiatrist and seems to be interested in the revolution, so we're off to an excited start. Her voice actually rings over the comms here, and it's clear she's taken over the reins since Ryan and Atlas have both died. She calls herself the mother of the Rapture family. Tenenbaum has come back to Rapture following the kidnap of girls from coastal towns on the surface. Lamb or someone near her has been making new little sisters, and Tenenbaum wants to stop this, to stop the sins of the past repeating. So far, we've got our villain and our hook to advance. It's true the little sisters are being made, and when we encounter the first new one, we discover the thing jumping around is called a big sister. Seemingly someone's picked up after the Big Daddy tech stopped. They're a lot more mobile, and just as, if not more powerful, causing us significant difficulty to fight, even with our updated arsenal of Big Daddy themed weapons. We get it to half health before it disappears. When we chase it into another atrium, it smashes the glass window and the place floods. We're out in the ocean, and at least we're bonded to a giant diving suit. We head to the train station to look for Tenenbaum, and a voice log from Ryan tells us how Lamb got here.
I'm told that the people grow tense and isolated in the absence of the sun. Now they clamor for a psychiatrist. Do they miss the state censor, I wonder? Wartime seizure of private assets? Or the checkup police vanishing them in the night? Regardless,
The people of Rapture clamour for a psychiatrist, as the children clamour for the mines. Something Ryan is against, but he brings Lamb in as an expert in the field to keep the chain rattling along. We enter a gate control room, and Lamb herself speaks to us. We've been dead for 10 years. She doesn't appreciate ghosts, as she sicks some splices on us before we fall deep below the station into the runoff. It's quite interesting to be able to travel about in water sections, and it makes this game slightly different. In fact, the plot as a whole and the enemy we face is a bit more unique. Instead of being stuck between two business rivals, we've got an united Rapture united against us. I felt more like an invader in this game than Jack, despite being part of the infrastructure, him actually being an invader. Eleanor, our sister, can actually speak to us through some sort of telepathy, perhaps due to the imprinting process. She leaves us gifts throughout the game, and her first one is a telekinesis plasmid. We've got a rather special bond with Eleanor in that we'll slowly shut down and die if we can't reach her. It's another thematic hook, even though we didn't really need one besides just helping Tenenbaum to be a good person. Sushong has died during the advent of the Big Daddies. We saw his body in the last game, and he was supplanted by Gil Alexander, who continued his work, hence why we've got this magical bond the other Big Daddies didn't. We fight through various fun parts of the metro until we reach Tenenbaum herself. She confirms she's returned to rescue the little sisters, and again doesn't want her sins to be repeated. Before we can talk for too long, Sophia Lamb broadcasts a bounty on us, setting the whole of Rapture against us. We need to hold this position so Tenenbaum can escape. There's a lot more emphasis in this game on using traps, a theme they'll develop further into Infinite, I guess. We've got a variety of new ammos we can use to trap here. The hacking minigame has changed, and the game doesn't pause while we complete it, overall making combat and the gameplay as a whole quite quicker. We defend the point, and after Tenenbaum leaves, she puts us in the capable hands of Sinclair, an ally of hers who will hopefully get us to Eleanor. Augustus Sinclair, Esquire, a very slick-haired businessman who has his own motivations that just so happen to align with ours.
Well, look at you. A bona fide knight in armor, complete with iron horse. The name's Augustus Sinclair, sport, Esquire.
He's going to meet us at Ryan Amusements, and so we take the train line over to him rather than a bathysphere. In all fairness, with a genetic lock, I probably can't ride those anyway. There's a fun selection of locations in this title, all helping to build the world of Rapture further. Ryan Amusements is our first example of a place aimed at the younger populace. We're blocked by ice ahead of us and need to find Incinerate to advance. Throughout every locale, we'll see attempts at shrines to Lamb and Eleanor, the populace worshipping them both, and this Rapture family with religious fervour. Sinclair tells us we're a rare model, an Alpha Series Big Daddy, and he tells us his motivations, in that he wants to sell Rapture's technology topside to make a quick buck. Ryan Amusements were initially meant to be a theme park, the likes of which the world had never seen, until Ryan put his hands in it and warped it into an educational experience to indoctrinate the youth to his way of thinking. For all the things to find in a theme park, a Gatling gun wasn't expected, and this will continue to be our best weapon as we advance. It's worth taking the guided tour if you've not before, once you get here. It might be propaganda, but even that can give us some history. Ryan found a nice patch of sea, uses state-of-the-art submersibles to begin building from the sea floor. The men then do it by hand, not having plasmids at this point in time. The entries from after that point are missing, however. There are exhibits on plasmids, the ones released by Ryan Industries rather than Fontaine Futuristics, but the videos aren't playing. And why show the competition, right? Eleanor drops us another gift, including a drill power tonic and a note from when she was a child. Lamb told her daughter she mustn't go near the other children, as they live on a diet of dog eat dog.
Not to play with the other children, because they're being raised on a diet of dog-eat-dog. I wanted to see these dog-eaters, so I waited until Mom was gone and went out to find one. And guess what? The dog-eaters wear human skins. It makes them look just like us.
She obviously holds her daughter in high regard. Like the first game, we need to gather Adam. This time it's a bit different. You fight the daddies as per, so you can steal from them, but there's a bit more of an emphasis on you laying down traps to fight them in this game. You adopt the little sister, and from there there'll be a series of gathering points for each sister you can grab, and you have to defend them. This is fun at first, but can get a bit tedious when the average level has 3 sisters with 2 points each, so 6 gathering activities. You'll spend a lot of time defending them if you want all that juicy Adam, which I always did. I wasn't a fan of this as a completionist. There's just a lot to do and the levels aren't that large. From there you choose to either sacrifice them or save them as per the first game when you dump them back into their vents. It's a fun process once or twice, but it does get stale quick. We carry this sister through what looks to be a cart ride called the Journey to the Surface, an educational jaunt where Ryan spouts his propaganda about the Great Chain and the parasites of government, religion and anyone who's not him. We find a few voice notes where he finds Lamb indoctrinating some of her patients into a familial cult of sorts, instantly marring her as a Soviet-style communist, whom he refuses to let leech off his city. When you hand in all the little sisters, a big sister will come to fight you, giving you enough time to set traps and also dropping a load of Adam if you kill her. They can be quite rough depending on how well prepared you are, or they can be shockingly easy. Either way, Adam's Adam, and with it we can buy the incinerate plasmid and get our train rolling. Our next stop is Pauper's Drop, an area where the impoverished of Rapture were exploited into living. It wasn't actually made for anyone to live there. What the hell is that thing? They've got tanks in this game too, it seems. Lamb locks down the train travel and we'll need to find the local governor, Grace Holloway, to advance through, and well, she's on Lamb's payroll, if cults have payrolls. We pass more shrines, this time stating they'll all be reborn. Perhaps it's one of those Kool-Aid style cults. Grace's voice rings out on the intercom.
Twisted that baby girl into a thing so sick it can't even die. And now you come swanning into my neighborhood looking for me. Wrong turn, Tin Daddy.
She remembers us stealing Eleanor before she was a little sister. She wants to take revenge for that. Though that story doesn't make sense. The big daddies aren't known for child napping, and in fact they don't really go near anyone unless they attack their little sisters. They're docile to the populace if anything. Something doesn't track. Pauper's Drop looks like a slum, things are boarded up, and it's oddly reminiscent of old school New York. I've no experience in the department, but it gives me the same feeling of the locales of old gangster flicks. The people here are tight-knit and almost forgotten by the systems above them. A voice note from Ryan continues the him versus Lamb line where he calls out her religious faith as something illegal, even seizing and burning crucifixes where he found them.
Religious rites, Doctor? You're free to kneel before whatever tribal fetish you favor in the comfort of your own home. But in Rapture, liberty is our only law. A man's only duty is to himself. To imply otherwise, therefore, is criminal.
Ask yourself.
You can hear the people's voices ring out as Lamb defends Faith, getting people on her side. In fact, other notes show that Lamb made a lot of time for the poorer folks, offering free counselling, something Ryan would have looked down on, and genuinely uniting the unseen of Rapture. We get a new camera here. This time it will give us points based on a short film reel that starts when we take the picture and ends when we kill the splicer, rather than static images of the last game. It's an improvement, but still a bit fiddly just to get it out and do it every time. We'll need to film one of those tank-looking brute splicers to unlock a drill charge ability for us to progress deeper, and this will become so useful as we advance. Lamb had been handing out butterfly brooches to those sympathetic to her cause, building her revolution brick by brick. We take the required photos and head deeper in. Lamb reveals that Grace, who had been looking after Eleanor, was once a singer, and after singing out against Ryan, he'd had her censored, going against one of those core tenets of Rapture. Hell, even his actions against Lamb echo that of a secret police, and it seems Ryan was more like the parasites he'd hated than he wanted to admit. Grace is holed up in Sinclair Deluxe, a hotel that Sinclair had been kicked out of. We fight our way up the various floors of the hotel, finding out that Sinclair was a bit of a crook, exploiting those below him to make $1 on their dime. When we get to Grace, she gives us the security key to get out of there. She blames us for Eleanor's conversion, purely off the fact she saw the two of us walking together. We broke her jaw when she tried to grab Eleanor off us. Now, we're given the choice to kill Grace if we want, but unlike Jack, we're not a slave and we choose, letting her live. She says she can't call off all the splicers here, but she does give us some help in the form of security bots, believing we're not the monster she'd painted us to be, but a thinking man. She knows Lamb's trying to ambush us, so she ups our odds. We also get her questioning Lamb's motives as we take our train out of there. Lamb herself's a bit bitter about the whole thing.
By sparing Grace, do you seek to gain my trust? A feeble ruse. Your crocodile tears may poison her with doubt, but I am not so easy a mark.
The train passes through an underwater section, and Father Wales, well, he gives us a very priestly welcome.
Ye shall never reach her garden.
Luckily, we're an absolute unit. I've no clue how Sinclair survived on that train, but he's in Dionysus Park, and we've been dropped in Siren Alley. If we can drain Dionysus, we can save Sinclair, and the two of us can move on. Lamb taunts us about meeting Wales, and like all cults, he's one of her zealots. He died for Eleanor and sees us as an enemy to her well-being. Siren Alley reminds me of New Orleans, with the architecture here reflecting some of those Mardi Gras streets you'd spot. The level designers for 2 do a good job of pulling in these locales where exploitation of the working class is examined more in this game. They pull design in related to those themes. Grace in the last area was a blues singer, and that southern through line will continue. The games definitely bring the politics a bit more to the forefront, which is something I actively try and avoid in these videos, but you can see this again further developed in Infinite. If you're collecting all the voice logs, you'll get knees deep in the politics. If you're blindly charging through, you can ignore it, whichever is your preference. Father Wales is Lamb's most ardent servant, following her after Ryan had been smoked down. Himself and his brother were the original architects for Rapture, one brother turning to religion when things went south, and the other to crime. They were originally architects that built cathedrals topside. Daniel Walsh set up offices in the Pink Pearl, where the rich became ladies of the night after the whole Great Chain snapped. Father Wales is still trying to bring him back to the law's light, but they seem to have a strained relationship at best. To get to the Good Father, we'll need to head through the brothel and find a key code from the brother. The place is as grim as you'd expect, the music becoming a bit creepier and spider splicers making a re-emergence. Sinclair gives us the exposition I've already given you, and we head up to find Whale. The spider splicers, for what it's worth, are 10 times creepier in this installment, crawling through vents, being much larger and monstrous, and generally more of a nuisance. We actually chase Daniel around this building, and he's a boss leadhead splicer, ambushing us at certain points. One note from Dusky Donovan was really memorable for me.
Sure, I've had some Johns in my time, and they've all got their kinks. But I think Rupert beats all. Keeps wanting me to splice up in the act. Says it'll heighten it for both of us.
I don't know why it stuck with me for so long. Maybe it's just because it's such a bleak setting. In Wales's room, we uncovered the Good Father had given him a vintage bottle of wine with a code for his room on it. It's clear too, Daniel had never been religious, splitting him and his brother apart more. Daniel is an absolute menace to fight, downing me multiple times due to his massive health pool. But with his code, we can head in deeper after the Father. When we go to open the door, they cut the power, and Father Wales sends splicers after us in another attempt at defending a point. We're the point to defend here though. You have enough tools to trap the place up, and if you sit by the door, the spiders will be the only issue, but it's quite a fun section. Lamb gets on the blower to us and reveals she wants to use Eleanor to end all sin in the world somehow, and it tracks as far as cults go. We've no details on our actual plan besides it involving Adam, so maybe she's making a super weapon. I don't know. Well, I do, but you don't know yet, so wait for that. The fight against Whale is actually fairly underwhelming. He's just a stronger spider splicer. He does spout some gospel before the fight, and if he manages to leave the room or explode in ice, you can actually soft lock yourself here as I had off camera. We shift the water from the park, but Lamb overloads the pumps, absolutely flooding where we're at now. Of course, she's not clocked that drowning us just doesn't work yet. We wander through these flooded streets as she taunts us. She believes we're going to doom the world somehow by stopping Eleanor from reaching her destiny.
Look, Delta. It is the world for which you strive. You, alone among the dead.
We move to Dionysus Park, which was once owned by Sophia Lamb as a private retreat for her social experiments. It's probably the seat of her revolution as well. One night, surprisingly, the place flooded. Who saw that coming? But we're now walking through the exhumed corpse of an area, the Houdini splicers acting like ghosts as they teleport around. There's one sweet voice note here where a child seems to get a crush on one of the little sisters.
The yellow-eyed girl. My name is Billy, and I saw you the other day at the merry-go-round. I think you are very pretty, and I like your blue dress and...
Our objective here is to help out Stanley Poole, a reporter who was hiding behind enemy lines. Memories can be transferred through Adam, and he's trying to keep something buried. As such, we do the usual sister gathering thing to progress. There's an interesting side character here, Mark Meltzer, who throughout the whole game we've been following his audio logs, chasing down after his kidnapped daughter from the surface. He reaches this park ahead of us and discovers his girl turned into a little sister. We actually hear him die before we pick up his audio log.
Oh, get back! She's my little girl! No! Get back! She's my little girl!
There's so many through lines from all the audio logs, it would be an entirely different video to track them all. But they're in there. If anyone has any specific characters they'd wish I'd mention, put them in the comments, let someone else hear about them. As we gather more Adam, our Eleanor shows us what Stanley was trying to hide. He looked after Dionysus Park in Lamb's stead, but used it as a party village, spending a coin and causing a mess, letting her followers turn into animals. He flooded the place to cover his tracks, and when we get back to the train station to confront him about this, Lamb reveals she'd known all along Stanley had flooded the place.
And had forgiven him. But in compromising Eleanor now, he seals his fate. You see, it was Stanley who turned you into Ryan. He is responsible for what you have become. The security booth is open now. You may have your revenge.
Worse, it's revealed we were originally a man who came down from the surface on accident, and Ryan, with his love of strangers, turned us into a big daddy. Stanley was the one who handed us over. You've got the hook to potentially kill the guy, but doing such won't really help us now, so we head to Fontaine Futuristics. Lamb's big plan is to force all the consciousnesses of Rapture's best and brightest into Eleanor, using all the atoms she's gathered, hoping to turn her into a utopian free from ego, greed and vice. It sounds insane as far as propositions go, and the cult seemingly want to merge into one big whole, something we'd like to stop. Gil Alexander is the man running the show in this area.
October 9th, 1967. Hello. My name is Gilbert Alexander, and by the time you hear this, I will be clinically insane.
We uncover voice notes that reveal he was to be patient zero of this experiment of merging minds, a willing volunteer. He notices though that it's driving him insane and leaves logs around ahead of time instructing us to take him out, apologising for his present/future self. Gil in the present goes by Alex the Great, and he has a very bad habit of sending other Alpha Series Big Daddies at us. He was responsible for some of the Big Daddy tech, and he really lets us know it. We need to skulk around this area, taking out any point in which Alex can interface with the tech here, using one of his voice logs for an audio password. You're not really missing much with me glossing over this section. We open a secret tunnel to Plasmid Laboratories where the real experiments get underway. We discover Gil is now an amorphous giant blob, grossly warped by the Adam experiments. We just see a flash of him in this tank. We'll need to find Adam-infused plant life to lure him out so that we can take yet another secret tunnel to Lamb's hideout. You could choose to kill Gil or let him live. He was the only one I actually killed. Following his past voice notes, I felt like it was the right thing to do. We head to our final destination of Persephone Station, and it's a private prison and secret home of Sinclair Solutions. You wouldn't expect a prison in a utopia, but Rapture just straight isn't one. We see Eleanor locked away in a quarantine chamber, and as soon as we hit the switch, two big sisters come to attack us. They're a bit rough, but no trouble by this point in the game. We hop in the airlock and Sinclair loses signal with us. Lamb sees us, and she's smoking a Barry Byrne behind Eleanor. She's angry at us for ruining her life's work there. Apparently Eleanor's been shaped entirely by our journey now. In an insane move, she chokes Eleanor out just enough that we'll die thanks to our synthetic link. Of course, thanks to how we're resurrected, we'll return from one of the nearby revitalization chambers. To avoid that, she just put us in a coma and tied us down while we were unconscious. Eleanor believes we can't be stopped from dying, but she can help us, as her little sister gives us a new plasmid that will let us control her.
I know this feels a bit strange, Father, but now you can see through her eyes and tell her where to go. This is how I brought you back without Mother catching on. Now, first, let's get you out of here.
We get this fun little section where we see through the eyes of the little sisters, Rapture looking rather wonderful more than a flooded ruin. Lovely wooden floors, great statues that don't exist in the real world. The fun stuff is we could just wander around the splicers here as we're in disguise. Lamb starts looking for Sinclair, but we do a few things to even the odds. The little sister we were controlling collects the pieces of a big sister suit for Eleanor, the world flickering every time she grabs something new. You can even gather some Adam here. Eleanor follows our example in this case and saves the little sister as we have been previously in the game. This then runs to us breaking out. We summon Eleanor using a unique plasmid and she's exceptionally useful. We run to the nearby docking platform where Sinclair's lifeboat is, and given it's still docked, Sinclair's probably here too. Lamb locks down the gangway and we have to go to the holding wing to sort it out. Of course it's clear Lamb's gotten to Sinclair first, and somehow turned him into a big daddy in the space of 5 minutes, and is mind controlling him.
Kid, Lamb's in my head. I can't help myself. I have to fight just to talk. Left me my goddamn tongue to torture the bomb codes out of me. She wants me to stop you leaving. I'm sorry.
We need to break into a prison room to get the override code from him. It's quite fun in the sense there's a few routes to do this. You can either grab some voice notes from the various prison cells, or find a secret back route and attack Sinclair from behind. We then free the little sisters Lamb had made and use their combined power to suspend the lifeboat. We defend the ballast chamber while Eleanor and her sisters start causing the boat to rise, hoping to escape the doomed city in this final defense section. As we go to board the lifeboat though, it's clear that Lamb has trapped the gangway. Eleanor teleports in, but we're thrown out into the drink. The boat launches, and we manage to just cling on to get one of our endings. It breaks up into a few variations depending on how we treated the little sisters and what we did with the NPCs we've encountered. Sophia Lamb can either live or die depending on how we influence Eleanor. And when the ship surfaces, Eleanor will either absorb our consciousness or send us hurtling into the water. Honestly, there's so many permutations that it will fit your playstyle. For the run I did, where everyone lives bar Gil, I saved all the little sisters, Lamb is saved, and Eleanor takes our consciousness, wanting to redeem the world with us. Bioshock 2, eh? Bioshock 2 may take place in the same crumbling city as the first game, but it does tell a more personal story. This time you're playing Subject Delta, one of the first big daddies hunting down your stolen little sister. As you explore a Rapture that's fallen more so than the first game, you learn that Eleanor's mother, Sophia Lamb, has twisted the city's ideals in a different direction. Unlike Andrew Ryan's obsession with individualism, Lamb preaches collectivism, and it's taken to the extreme, becoming a sacrificial cult. Sacrificing personal freedom in the name of a so-called greater good, probably the same as Ryan's regime. Really, she's the antithesis of that man. We fight our way through splicers and moral choices and reunite with Eleanor like a father hunting for his daughter. Along the way, the game forces you to make tough decisions. Do you spare or punish those who stand in your way, who might have done something to you in the past? Do you want to save or exploit the little sisters once again? All of these choices then shape Eleanor, who ultimately mirrors your morality in the game's final moments. While Bioshock 2 wasn't as popular as the first, I don't think, its story carries just as much emotional weight, if not more in some cases. We bring a much tighter focus to the story here, expand on the previous, but we look at things from a different angle. In the end, it's a story about a dad saving his daughter, which I think is quite easy to empathise with. You can dig deeper to find more about the political struggle here, or you can just enjoy the simple parts. I think it's a great game when it's not marred with bugs and load issues. It's probably the only one that crashed on me multiple times on PC. It's got a DLC which I rock with massively, and we're going to jump into that.
This is just the beginning.
Minerva's Den is one of the more unique entries in the series, a DLC focusing on the Big Daddy Subject Sigma, breaking into the technological hub of Rapture to download a schematic on the city's supercomputer. It focuses more on the themes of identity and free will, with it being a much more personal story, even compared to Bioshock 2. It's nothing like the political sways we've seen previously. There's some great twists and turns to it too. We open up in 1968, approaching Minerva's den right as the tunnel blows and we plummet to the sea floor. An entirely new character, CM Porter, tells us we're going to help him get the thinker out of Rapture, whoever the thinker is.
Hello, Mr. Signal?
Entering a nearby airlock, we're told Minerva's den has been cut off from the rest of Rapture for quite some time, and our first goal is to turn on the power. Scribbling around the place shows someone here wants to keep the den to themselves, and they're obsessed with equations. Porter had founded Rapture's central computing alongside Reed Wall, who had pushed him out a long time ago and usurped control. He's who we heard on the speaker when the tunnel blew. Reed is obsessed with this computer, and we're trying to pinch it away from him. You can hear why in one of these voice logs. The machine is so powerful it can practically predict the future. At first, Reed saw it as a tool to make money, until he discovered the whole future prediction thing was very accurate. Porter was just using this computer to emulate his dead wife. Yeah, rough, right? The overall gameplay is the same here, just a little bit harder. We get a new weapon in the form of a laser beam that does even the odds a bit. Porter worked under Turing in the whole Enigma project, and this led to his job in Rapture. His computer manages all the automatic tech in the city, including atmosphere and pressure regulation, so he managed to keep Lam away too by saying he'd turn the city off if she tried to step into his ground. They stress this point to make it clear it's an isolated story. As we progress through the den, it becomes clear that the machine had predicted every event leading up to our arrival. This lets Weil ambush us, but it also predicted that we'd take it out. Porter encourages us along, and it becomes clear Wow became a hardcore splicer. Seeing the profit the machine could pull, he pushed Porter out, and then had to splice up to actually match him on intellect. Ryan got rid of Porter, and that's where we're at now. He wants us to grab a copy of the computer so he can continue his life's work on the surface. Alongside our ray gun, we can make use of a gravity well plasmid unique to this expansion. It becomes evidently clear the machine has started to wake up, becoming self-aware, which scared Porter, but the audio logs and radio chatter don't line up perfectly. We explore a variety of locales, all kept within this one area made to house the supercomputer, fighting for its cooling system, Reed's offices, until we hit a big reveal. Porter was captured by Ryan's secret police, and maybe turned into a big daddy. He gave the Thinker one last subroutine to get itself out of the city, and it becomes clear we're not just Subject Sigma, we're Porter himself after this surgery. Not only do the environmental hints show this, but there's various genetic locks that only Porter would have been able to unlock. The Porter we hear on the radio is the Thinker itself, wanting to not only get itself out of Rapture, but its only friend Porter with it. It likely involved Tenenbaum just because he knows she's the expert that it'd need to undo the Big Daddy occasion. The computer itself reveals all this once we switch it off and on again and defeat Reed. Tenenbaum knew it all along. On our way to returning to the surface, we see Porter's conversations with the simulation of his wife, who at this point had died during the Blitz. It's disturbing, and I'll let sections of it play here.
Hello, Pearl?
Hello, Milton.
How have you been?
Just wonderful, Milton. I've missed you, though. It's been so long.
Pearl, No, this isn't right. It isn't her. Thinker, stop the test.
But what's the matter, Milton?
Oh, God.
Don't you still love me?
Oh, God, I said end function, Thinker. Now!
For once, our main character gets out without being too traumatized. Well, I suppose he was turned into a big daddy. And Porter lived through the Blitz, the fall of Rapture, and escapes with Tenenbaum. He reflects on trying to resurrect his dead wife as a simulation and finally lets her go. Despite you getting the speed tour of this DLC, it's worth a play, and I've left enough meat on the bone in there that you can experience it in your own playthroughs. This DLC was actually my favourite part of the series. Check it out. But for our grand finale, we've got one more game to look at.
Goodbye, Pearl. I love you more than I've got words for. Milton.
We're in 1912 in a completely different universe. Booker DeWitt, American detective, has been sent to the airborne city of Columbia to retrieve a girl and wipe away his debts. The city of Columbia is a nationalist, formerly American colony, with these very Puritan undertones. We get involved in a whole host of reality-bending hijinks as we fight our way through the place utilising Vigors instead of plasmids, riding the skylines about in a much more action-shooty take on the series. The plot dips into class wars, 20th century politics, and the nature of the multiverse as it seems Columbia has a lot more in common with Rapture than you'd think. We start in a boat. Two British individuals, a lady and a gentleman, hand us a box, talking to each other but not really to us. We're given a gun, a picture of the girl we need to find, and the couple continues to talk about rowing. Things get a bit weird already as we pull up to the lighthouse.
I suppose he does, but there's no point in asking.
Why not?
Because he doesn't row.
He doesn't row?
No, he doesn't row.
Ah, I see what you mean.
There's a note on the door asking us to collect the girl and wipe away our debt. When we come in, things are in stark contrast to Rapture. It's a lighthouse, sure, but there's a font for a baptism and biblical quotes that are all embroidered in crocheted. Things that have this homesteader aesthetic too, rather than the more industrial World War tech we've seen. We see a man bagged up, showing whoever we owe debts to isn't to be messed around with, and instead of going into a bathysphere, we knock on the top of the lighthouse and enter a big launching apparatus. The rocket carries us above the clouds, and it's like we've pierced heaven.
10,000 feet. 15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
A magical floating city, the statue of an angel at its centre, zeppelins flying around, and a big poster for a prophet. We're in a religious all-American utopia up here, like the Amish did the opposite of abhorring tech. Their prophet here is replacing the role of Ryan, leading these folks to their utopia. We land at a church, hearing the choir singing and realising the city isn't in a state of disrepair like Rapture was. We're entering Columbia at its prime. The seed of the prophet shall drown the mountains of man, eh? To get into the city, we need to be baptized. Preacher Whiting does it for us, nearly drowning us in the process.
But this one doesn't look clean to me.
We pass out, dreaming of our detective's office. We can't refuse the man, instead opening the door to see that the prophecy has gone full circle before we woke up. It's a fake out. We do wake up, and we see some Giga Chad versions of the Founding Fathers staring down at us. Turns out it's common practice for all to be drowned before they can enter the city, and I hope not everyone is as much of a zealot as these are. The game so far is a lot stranger than the other Bioshocks. Things are slightly more scripted, the city is still functioning, and there's obviously a larger meta-narrative at play here. It's nice not to see splicers smashing around as we wander through the town. Even the buildings fly. It seems like a nice enough place. Though there seems to be some dissent as we hear talk of the Vox Populi and see posters warning of a false prophet. It could just be your average religious propaganda. We've no actual clue where this girl is, so we head after her to a local gathering at the raffle. As we approach, we receive a telegram.
Not alert Comstock to your presence. Stop. Whatever you do not pick number 77. Stop.
I've no clue who Lutece is, and I suppose they might be talking about the raffle here. We'll keep our guard up. Plasmids exist here, but they're known as Vigors instead. They seem to be drinkable too, rather than injectables. Made by Jeremiah Fink. We'll keep an eye on him. I've yet to see any little sisters or similar, and we can mess around at the fair here, using a Vigor in one of the little mini-games, or shooting a few guns to gain some silver dollars. Turns out the dissenters are led by a Daisy Fitzroy, another name for the wallet. Things speed up when we actually get to the raffle. Maybe that's the Big Daddy variant. Well, before we can actually reach the raffle, the lady and the gentleman from the boat are here, and they ask us to play heads or tails.
Heads.
Or tails.
Come on, let me through. Heads.
Or tails.
Heads.
Told you. I never find that as satisfying as I'd imagined.
Chin up. There's always next time.
I suppose there is.
They're a strange pair, and clearly keeping a watchful eye on us, probably sent by the people we owe a debt to. The raffle itself has us draw a lot, and of course we draw the number we weren't meant to. 77 wins the raffle, and Fink himself calls it out.
Not the prettiest young white girl in all of Columbia?
Oh, they're racist here, got it. Our prize, the first throw at I don't even know if I can show all this on YouTube. They're really racist here. We choose to throw the ball at an announcer rather than the couple, and the local police here mention the brand on our hand. Turns out we're the false shepherd, but this was our first time here, right? We steal a skyhook in one of the most creative ways possible. We can melee with this thing and later on actually use it to move around, jumping to and fro. Melee and plasmids are independent of your equipped weapon. Think gets even more racist on the voice notes, as it's clear they've been importing slaves despite Lincoln's work, and well, we'll make a quick exit from the fair, shooting our way through the streets and encountering their firemen. It's a lovely pun. I thought it would be a hose wielding one, but no, they've got vigors here. Take him out and he'll just so happen to have a bottle of his vigor on him. You get a lovely animation for each new vigor. We need to head to the Monument Island to find the girl. Throughout our trip, we'll see these kinetoscopes dotted around to see more about certain events. Columbia set off in 1893 and was used as a successful military base, and Washington told them to stand down. As a result, they secede from the Union. We cut through various side buildings until we encounter the lady and the gentleman again. We get a tonic that gives us a shield that will regenerate if we stop taking damage, then make use of the skyhook, able to jump around and explore side areas, or use it to get the tactical advantage during combat. The combat itself being excellent for the most part. The story itself doesn't really get moving again until we enter the Fraternal Order of the Ravens building. They're really pushing the hard R angle here, with them worshipping John Wilkes Booth and calling Lincoln the apostate. It doesn't seem like Columbia is a nice place to live in for every coloured person. The members of this order are called crows and act a lot like Houdini splicers, being able to turn into a swarm of crows to get around. They'll become reoccurring elite enemies. After this voice log,
what exactly was the great emancipator emancipating the Negro from his daily bread?
I was happy to face off against Comstock. Fighting our way through a gondola station, we can figure out we can hitch a ride somewhere to get to Monument Island. There's a big angel statue we've been seeing, and that's Monument Island. It houses the girl, and we've been sent to Black Bagger. The police have set up cordons and turned the gondolas off, so we need to ride the skylines themselves. And I can't tell you how cool and unique this was when it first came out. The skylines get us most of the way, and then we need to mix climbing and fighting to get to one last rail, wherein Comstock tells his men to stand down, and they stop with absolute obedience. We get to actually talk to Comstock here, and he knows a lot about us. That we were at Wounded Knee, we were at Pinkerton, and we lost a woman called Anna.
Anna. And now, to repay a debt, you've come from my land. But not all debts can be repaid, Booker.
You don't know me, pal.
Apparently, he's a very, very good prophet. He knows things that he really shouldn't. Our nose bleeds and we advance to the island, being shot at by Comstock's Zeppelin. We'll be able to fly it to the monument if we can board it. Of course, when we do, the prophet appears.
But I'm just a prophet, so I don't have to. Amen.
Amen.
Jesus!
Religious cults are crazy, man, but we hop off and get to the island. The place has already been closed off, but it seems it was always closed off to the public. Their janitor, Ty Bradley, provides some context to us through his voice notes.
I guess even in a restricted area, these crackers need someone to clean the floors.
There's something strange about the woman being kept here, something scary. We can see here there's a lot of power either being funneled into her or being harvested from her. She's also on around-the-clock surveillance. Comstock has been using Elizabeth to somehow see the future. He's actually got cancer and is planning to groom Elizabeth into becoming the conqueror he wants her to be. Though, as we explore the monument, we see a rather kindly young woman, almost a Disney princess in terms of appearance and mannerisms, not a conqueror. That is, until we see her literally open a tear in reality, and it's very clear why the girl is so valuable. She's very special indeed. We work our way up the statue, and when we step back in, we actually fall into Elizabeth's chambers, and she starts freaking out, throwing books at us. As we try starting to break her out, a pipe instrument rings and we can hear something quite large meeping around.
He's coming. You've got to go.
Why?
You don't want to be here when he gets here. Just a minute, I'm getting dressed.
Get you out of here.
There's no way out. Trust me, I've looked. Stop it, you're too impatient, that's enough!
What about this?
What about it?
This is the way out, isn't it?
What are you...
We begin our daring escape with Elizabeth as we're told something was trying to keep her locked here. The thing starts clawing at the statue to get to us too, and it's massive. When we call the elevator to leave, we discover what it is. A giant bird Big Daddy. Seems Ryan stole his ideas from somewhere else. The thing is massive again, and I don't back our chance of fighting it just now. We make our escape on the skylines with the thing in hot pursuit, having just torn the statue asunder. It casts a ridiculously large silhouette on the surroundings. We think we're done for when we drop into the water suspended up here and discover the creature's weakness to it. Once more we fall unconscious and into our office.
Clean up the curb and wipe away the debt. Are you in there, DeWitt?
Anna? Anna!
As we open the door, we're in Battleship Bay, and Elizabeth has saved us with CPR. Battleship Bay is the closest we're getting to Rapture here. It's a beach suspended in the sky. Luckily, it's attached to a few museums, and there's an exhibit on the First Lady's airship we might be able to pinch. When we find Elizabeth again, she's dancing, only we don't dance, but we offer to take her to Paris and she heads off with us, even though we're planning on taking her to New York. We're given an ominous warning that Elizabeth doesn't need protecting in combat, and we head to the upper boardwalk, encountering the lady and gentleman from before as they offer us 2 brooches.
Mr. DeWitt, here.
Bird.
Or the cage.
Or perhaps the bird.
Nothing beats the cage.
These two again. How do... Never mind.
The bird or the cage. There's no difference in what we choose here, just variables we can pick from. We see the monument tower ablaze and decide to make a hasty exit before someone comes looking for us, having to pick a lock to get past a police checkpoint. Elizabeth can pick locks and find items around for us, making her a fairly decent companion. We see an immediate reward from one of our last choices, the interracial couple from the raffle with some gear we can wear. They're in the segregated walk, ironically. A random woman in full khakis encounters us, calling Elizabeth Annabelle, and when she's identified, she then walks off. This is one of Comstock's secret police getting ready to ambush us, and even if you realise this, there's nothing we can do as we walk past a load of suits and things get very suspicious. It's quite tense following her up the stairs, knowing we're about to be ambushed. We're given the choice to wait or draw, as we hear the ticket clerk on the phone to someone likely about to catch us. Elizabeth escapes, thinking us a murderer, and we fight off more Comstock goons as we chase after her. She's actually pretty tough to chase after, and she hops on a gondola towards Soldiers Field. We catch up and talk to her about what just happened.
What did you think was going to happen?
What?
Do you understand the expense people went through to keep you locked up in that tower? You think people like that are just going to let you walk away? You are an investment.
Booker's a rather nihilistic chap, some might say a realist. He knew they were going to catch us, and if we didn't draw first, well...
One thing I've learned. If you don't draw first, you don't get to draw at all.
We're still hunting down that airship to get away. This gondola will take us to Soldiers Field, a museum to the troops, and well, Comstock as their glorious leader. Similar to Ryan's amusement, it's a park themed on indoctrinating kids. Once again, we're gated off by needing a plasmid, and we need to find a shock plasmid from within. We find it deeper inside. Elizabeth shows us the tears again, windows to new worlds that she can interact with. Then we go deeper in. Captain Cornelius Slate, working for the Vox Populi, is here, and he's angry at Comstock for taking stolen valor for leading the charge at Wounded Knee, and with the Box of Rebellion. He's in fact occupied the Hall of Heroes commemorating these events. Booker fought in both conflicts and knows Slate personally, but he also knows the guy is quite unhinged. We fight through a few different exhibits, one for Wounded Knee and one for the Box of Rebellion, and Slate will let us pass if we can provide his soldiers a hero's death rather than the tin soldier Comstock killing them. It's all rather crazy. We discover tin soldiers in the form of founding fathers wielding Gatling guns. Again, crazy. When we finally wound Slate, we can encounter him on the ground, and he's begging us to kill him. I chose to spare him, and he calls me a tin man for it. We get the shock jockey and can head towards the airship. We can also use this to power up electrical devices, mostly doors in this game. I kind of wish you could shock the skylines or something. We get possibly my favourite combat section in the game as we summon a gondola to the ship and then have to fight across this huge boardwalk township area with snipers, rockets, a skyline, and Elizabeth being able to open tears to help us in combat, either summoning in cover, weapons, or even automatons. I feel like you actually get so much choice in how you handle the combat in this game, and if I was to repeat a section, my tactics would probably change too, depending on what ammo I had available. It's really fun, even if it's like a fairground ride of these linear combat encounters. The encounters themselves are quite fun. We skip a bit and put in coordinates for New York once we're aboard the ship. Elizabeth going into tears at the betrayal to lure us into a false sense of security, and then whacking us unconscious. Say what you want about the Tower Princess, but she's learning some street smarts. She adjusts the coordinates, but before the ship can actually get too far, we're boarded by the Vox Populi, the voice of the people in Latin. Daisy Fitzroy is here too, their leader. She's not concerned about our troubles. There's a revolution going on and she wants our help.
There's already a fight to win. Only question is, which side you on? Comstock is the god of the white man, the rich man, the pitiless man. But if you believe in common folk, then join the Vox. If you believe in the righteous folk, then join the Vox.
My ship.
She wants us to help their cause, and if we can get her weapons, she'll give us the ship back. Welcome to Finkton, the smoggy industrial part of the floating city. We chase Elizabeth through an exceptionally large warehouse wherein she uses tears to slow us down with some quite comedic effect. Balloons, a marching band, even a train at one point. She gets captured by soldiers and we rush round to save her. There's a big fight, and at the moment we think we've caught up to her. A handyman, as they're called, causes us a bit of trouble. We're only saved by Elizabeth, and I count us lucky that she chose to. Booker has a silver tongue though, and manages to bring her back on side. With Elizabeth back, our next goal is to get these guns, and this is where things get trippy. The story for this game gets arguably a lot more complicated than previous entries, or at least harder to follow. I'll be simplifying sections to make it as easy as possible to explain going forward. We march through Finkton, wherein their top hat wearing mustache twiddling industrialist is leveraging the use of slaves to run essentially all the production here in Columbia. It's not like Rapture where there was a free market, everything is monopolised by Fink. Voice notes revealed that Elizabeth was some sort of magical birth, so magical even that the First Lady didn't give birth to her, meaning either a stork delivered Elizabeth or she's Comstock's bastard. She received no love from her mother for this. When Slate discovered this was the point where he turned over to the Vox Populi. We get blasted with propaganda from Fink.
God's green earth. Why, it's the bee! Have you ever seen a bee on vacation? Have you ever seen a bee take a sick day? Well, my friends, the answer is no. So I say, be the bee! Be the bee!
Until he actually calls us in and invites us for a job interview as his head of security. We'll progress that later. Right now we go looking for Chen Lin, the gunsmith that Daisy had sent us after. He's been secretly keeping a Buddhist idol here and has been nowhere to be seen. When we meet his Asian wife, she tells us the secret police came and spirited him away to the Good Time Club here, so we go over there. Fink thinks that's a lovely opportunity to test us. He watches us cut swathes through Columbia and wants our brutish charms to get rid of Daisy and settle the workers' union. A variety of other applicants are pinned against us, and it's basically a coliseum fight against goons, machines and the like. He doesn't give up on making us his head of security, the stubborn old bloke. Taking the employee entrance down, it shows us Fink had been using the tears too. Comstock used them to predict the future, whereas Fink used them to peer into other worlds, looking at Rapture and stealing some ideas in the form of vigors and the other technology we see. When we get to the cells underneath the place, we can see we were too late to save Chen. Or were we?
Is dead. What? The hell did...
I see heads.
And I see tails.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Why are you following us? Who sent you? Comstock? What do you want?
What do you see here, from this angle?
Dead.
Listen.
And that angle?
Alive.
Booker. Chen Lin.
The body's gone.
It was never here.
It's another Columbia.
A different Columbia.
The gentleman and the lady appear again, telling us the tears don't just open windows, they open views to new worlds. We can open a tear to a version of Columbia where Chen was never kidnapped. We're unsure of the butterfly effect of jumping into this new timeline, but we go there anyway, this presenting a few problems. When we pass by the bodies of the guards we killed getting down here, they're still alive too. They look monstrous and their memories are seeming to overlap, their noses bleeding, and they somehow remember being dead. In this world, Fink had already recruited his new head of security and is outraged when we pop out of his basement, leading to another battle here but from the reverse angle. The army is a bit more hunkered down, but when we go to Chen's place, he's present, but his mind is caught between two worlds. The Buddhist shrine is now a shrine to Comstock, and his wife is no longer Asian. We need to get his tools from an impound lot in Shantytown here. It also becomes clear this tear business isn't as neat or tidy as we'd like it to be. We fight tooth and nail to get into a police station here, and the impound lot with the tools, Elizabeth opening another tear to a world where they were never confiscated. We fight our way back away from the police station, only this time we've got backup from the Vox Populi, who seem to launch their coup, or at least have started to. I guess in this world, Daisy didn't need to wait to get her weapons. To make things even stranger, posters here show that in this world, DeWitt is a martyr for the revolution. He died to launch everything for them. We're a hero, but also we shouldn't be alive. Our mind works to create memories for this timeline, and the cognitive dissonance causes our nose to bleed. Here we remember burning down the Hall of Heroes with Slate under the Vox Populi banner. Daisy attacks the factory with us helping them in their assault. We don't need to get Daisy any weapons, but we still do want our airship. It's quite nice to not be fighting solo for once as we push through to Fink's office to find our former comrade. Elizabeth feels like she somehow caused this, even though she just opened a window. Daisy calls us in an elevator.
Here for my airship.
But my Booker DeWitt died for the Vox Populi. You either an imposter or a ghost. My Booker DeWitt was a hero to the cause, a story to tell your children. You just complicate the narrative.
Mentioning we're either an imposter or a ghost, and realising we can't live as it would complicate this whole lovely martyr narrative, giving her revolution steam. The Vox Populi are now against us, trying to snuff out the inconsistency. Fink's factory becomes this big grinding pit of soldiers from both sides and absolute chaos, though in moments of quiet we see more into what Fink saw from Rapture, the Big Daddies. This led him to making the Songbird for Comstock. Elizabeth is the closest thing to a little sister here, especially with us not having to gather any Adam. Fitzroy takes Fink out and we fight through her forces, firemen, soldiers, all coming in on flying ships, so we have another fun combat section where we can zoom around. The handymen are honestly the biggest hassle here, just having an insane health pool and a really hard to hit weak spot. They've got an immunity to Vigors it seems as well. They block us from using the skylines. Fitzroy grabs Fink's child, spurring Elizabeth to act in haste. We boost her into a vent so she can get behind Daisy and we distract them with them.
It's the only way to do it.
For the first time, Elizabeth has become a killer. Hopefully not too formative a moment, given how much it seems to affect her. We finally board the First Lady's airship again, and Elizabeth changes into her fake mother's clothes. Booker enters in some coordinates, not seeming to line up with Paris or New York, and the Songbird is summoned to take the ship down. When we hit the ground, the gentleman and the lady are playing a piano with the tune that summoned the Songbird, obviously alarming Elizabeth.
There it is. You've done it now. He's coming back. He's coming back.
But the thing doesn't respond. They let us know that the Songbird needs the tune and the right instrument. We get told Comstock will know more, and the two seemingly disappear. As at this point you might think they're apparitions, maybe actual angels, this is a religious setting, or just people with similar powers to Elizabeth. Luckily, we crash near Comstock House, and that'll form our next destination. There's more combat en route, and it becomes clear the city's now falling to ruin in a similar trajectory to Rapture caused by a civil war. Behind some locked doors, we can find some secret voice logs from the lady who's been appearing out of thin air.
Brother, what Comstock failed to understand is that our contraption is a window not into prophecy, but probability. But his money means the Lutece field could become the Lutece tear, a window between worlds. A window through which you and I might finally be together.
Her name is Rosalind Lutece, and the gentleman is seemingly her brother. The Luteces were the original folks to use the tears, and given their ability to jump to and from, they've seemingly mastered their use to a much larger degree than Elizabeth. As we've approached Comstock House, Elizabeth tells us to make an oath we'll never let her be captured again, even at the point of killing her. We don't officially promise, but her feelings are logged. The door to the mansion is locked and we'll need Lady Comstock to get it open, only she's been dead for 19 years. We head to a nearby graveyard to find her perfectly preserved corpse. Things take a dark turn with all this fog and lightning working as pathetic fallacy.
There's the graveyard where my mother's buried.
When we get there, Comstock attacks back, using some sort of machine to harvest Elizabeth's powers, opening a tear forcibly that resurrects the Lady Comstock as some sort of siren banshee. For once in these games, we're actually fighting a ghost, and she'll be able to summon the dead to help her too. It's the first actual supernatural occurrence we see besides the ghosts back in Rapture. We've lost our corpse, and with Elizabeth weakened, the Lutesses tell us if we discover 3 truths, we can bring Miss Comstock back on side. These bits of unfinished business show us a bit of information, including that Lady Comstock thought Rosalind Lutece was the mother of Elizabeth, but no, it turns out that Comstock is sterile, likely from his exposure to so many tears. Neither of them were Elizabeth's parents. Comstock ordered the 2 Lutesses killed. He'd even killed his own wife to cover up the origins of Elizabeth, but the 2 fled between the tears. We've uncovered what we've known from the start, that Comstock isn't a nice guy and that he betrayed his wife. Elizabeth and Lady Comstock settle their differences, with her hinting that Elizabeth isn't even from this world, and we enter Comstock House. There's this sick statue as we enter, and that man had absolute disdain for any nation but his own. Then the songbird strikes, grabbing Elizabeth away as we chase after her. Snow starts to fall, and it's clear we're also in a different time, a time when Elizabeth fulfilled her destiny to Comstock. The seed of the prophet will bathe the mountains of man in fire. We're also in a stealth section. This creepy thing doesn't fight us directly, instead if we're spotted it turns all these passive tank mobs into hostile ones. I had fun using chain lightning on them, but my god are they an ammo sink, so avoid being spotted at all costs. There's one especially fun jump scare where one just appears out of nowhere.
Perhaps I can keep it.
Should be able to head downstairs and get to Elizabeth now.
He was my first hope.
It's like we're crawling through a big asylum, hearing the screams of Elizabeth being experimented on through tears as we advance. The scientists themselves fear her, wanting to destroy her, but it seems completely out of their hands. We're in a world where Elizabeth thinks we abandoned her, and everything's gone completely wrong. We catch up to her, well, her silhouette, and we realise things are too late. Elizabeth brought us here to show us what happens if we fail, and we take her hand to see it. There seems to be no way out once she's too far in, but she gives us advice to pass on to our Elizabeth to stop Comstock from winning. Apparently across multiple universes we try, but Songbird always stops us.
She'll know how to read it.
What does it say?
It's advice.
Advice on what?
How not to become me.
We got sent to the point where they're trying to harm Elizabeth, and we break her out, this time determining it will be different. We shut down machines, dampening our powers so she can bring in one really cool tear. They were trying to implant a device to stop her powers, but we stopped them. The bruises still remain. Elizabeth wants to kill Comstock, and we're going to help her. We launch a charge on his flagship as our final push in the game, seeing the sheer military might of this man as we drop down his automaton pods and we can advance further. It's clear he's wanting to launch his strike soon, but he knows he won't live to see it. It'll be for Elizabeth. The Vox decide to also attack the ship, and we're caught in a crossfire until our next point of story note, actually confronting Comstock on the top deck. We encounter him at a chapel of his own, and Elizabeth asks him who she is, though he tries to fill her head full of smoke. He's like one of those mega church pastors that want to have like demon eyes. He so sows seeds of doubt with a single sentence that we can't answer.
Ask him, child. Ask him what happened to your finger. Ask DeWitt.
Let go of me.
Ask him. Ask the false shepherd. Tell her. Tell her false.
We kill Comstock and our nose bleeds again. Elizabeth knows what's going on, but we don't at this point. We promise we're on her side. We have no clue about this finger business, but if we can destroy the siphon on Monument Island, Elizabeth's full powers will be unleashed, and we can finally put this nightmare behind us. Using one of the organs here, Elizabeth discovers the key to controlling the Songbird, and we sick the thing on the Vox that attack us. We have to defend the engines of this ship as we approach the island, again against an onslaught of enemies, but we can use the Songbird this time to attack groups of them or sink their floating ships, and it's incredibly cinematic when it happens. Eventually we make it to the tower and use the Songbird to destroy the siphon to finally end the game. We tear it all down, and then the bird comes for us, the whistle breaking, but Elizabeth, now Super Saiyan, takes us somewhere new. It's all too familiar. We deal with the songbird, and I actually felt quite bad for him. Here the plot gets stranger.
It's okay. It's alright. I'm here. Just let go. There you go.
Elizabeth's taken us to Rapture. We don't stay here too long, but we ride a bathysphere away to the lighthouse where we started everything. Well, one of many lighthouses across the multiverse. We see a visualization of this as Elizabeth shows us she can access anywhere and everywhere now. An infinite number of worlds defined by changes in constants and variables. In each one there's always a lighthouse, a hidden city, slight changes but things resemble each other. Elizabeth wants to remind us how she lost her finger, and she takes us back to a point in time where Booker chose to get baptized after the Battle of Wounded Knee. He wanted his past erased and to be born again, but in the end he didn't go through with it.
Stop it! What are you doing? Get off me! Get off! Son!
You didn't go through with
You
it.
think a dunk in the river's gonna change the things I've done? Let's get out of here. Hey,
Our Booker didn't go through with it. See, we killed one Comstock, but not all of them, and in every world the Lutesses ask Booker to give them his girl to wipe away his debts. He goes to give them his daughter Anna, not Elizabeth, and every time he does this. He does always try to go back on his deal and steal her from Comstock, and every time, and well in this case, we can see Elizabeth's finger gets cut off in a tear. Anna, Elizabeth, they're the same person, Booker DeWitt's daughter, who he gives away and tries to steal back. The brand on our hand, AD, it's Anna DeWitt. She takes us back to the baptism. In some worlds we run from it becoming Booker, and in others we're reborn as Comstock. If Elizabeth can kill us all at this prime junction, she can get rid of all the Comstocks in every universe. The screen fades out, and that was Bioshock Infinite, the cycle of pain over. Bioshock Infinite feels like a completely different story when you boot it up, and it trades the underwater ruin of Rapture for the floating city of Columbia in its prime. You play as Booker DeWitt, our grizzled detective sent to bring the girl and wipe away his debt. The girl we find is Elizabeth, a young woman with literal magic powers, trapped in a tower and guarded by their take on a Big Daddy. We rescue her from the tower and then get launched into this heavily political romp around civil rights, religion, and many social issues as you realise things get very complicated. Columbia is a different kind of utopia gone wrong, but it is similar to Rapture. It's led by the prophet Zachary Comstock, and it's a place obsessed with purity and control, brushing everything that he doesn't like, that's most things really, under the carpet. The biggest twist, Booker and Comstock being the same person, split by a choice during the baptism, can be spotted earlier in the game, with all the nosebleeds and things like that. One refused, the other embraced the baptism and became a fanatic. Elizabeth, whose powers allow her to see and manipulate alternate timelines, ultimately sacrifices everything to stop Comstock at the root, drowning Booker before he can ever become Comstock. While Bioshock Infinite moves the setting, it's still unmistakably a Bioshock game. Like its predecessors, it explores ideologies gone wrong, objectivism in Bioshock, collectivism in Bioshock 2, and religious nationalism in Infinite. All three games feature fallen utopias, moral choices, and protagonists discovering they're not who they thought they were. There's exciting combat, magical powers, all this digging around for audio logs and these fun scripted sections. But where Bioshock was about control and the illusion of choice with the would you kindly twist, Bioshock 2 being about familial bonds, Infinite goes deeper into identity and the burden of past sins. Booker's journey is quite well written, being both a grand adventure physically and emotionally. It doesn't even bother looking at redemption too deeply though. Elizabeth just snuffs it out of the root. Logic problems are probably a lot easier to solve when you can hop between all dimensions at once. The emotional centre of Infinite is the bond between Booker and Elizabeth, mirroring Bioshock 2 with Delta and Eleanor. And when you dig into it, it does touch a lot on the previous game's themes in a variety of ways. In the end, Infinite expands the universe, then shuts a lid on its own story quite neatly by tying together alternate timelines and parallel worlds. It suggests that all Bioshock stories are different expressions of these same core ideals, but certain variables change. It suggests there's an infinite number of Raptures or Columbias, but doesn't linger too long on us seeing them all. I have had mixed opinions on the story for years, and only now am I truly appreciating it. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments. I did like the story, but Burial at Sea comes and, well, I didn't like that, as we're about to see. We're nearly there, folks. Burial at Sea is a two-part expansion for Infinite, where Elizabeth Prime goes to Rapture in search of one last Comstock who'd escaped the Great Purge. I'm a bit half and half about this title. You play as both Booker and Elizabeth as the chapters progress, with Elizabeth having more stealth to her gameplay and this interesting little microcosm of the series. The plot does leave a little bit to be desired as we go in, with inconsistencies and plot holes, but you'll see that unfurl as we advance. The gameplay is what makes this DLC, but it's not as good as The Den as a finished product for me. We start off in a noir detective's office, and as a lot of these noir stories, a woman comes in bringing more trouble than anything else. We use a fire plasmid to light her cigarette.
Well, you got a name, miss?
Elizabeth.
And it's clear it's not only Elizabeth, but Elizabeth Prime from her neckpiece. It's meant to reflect the icon you chose, but design oversights prevented this. Elizabeth wants us to look for a young girl, Sally. We follow her out of our office and realise we're in Rapture, seemingly one before the big fall. We finally get to see Rapture at its finest. Elizabeth doesn't know about this Sally girl she's looking for, but knows someone who does. Rapture actually looks quite amazing here, though when we cross paths with some little sisters we can see Ryan's attempts at making them more presentable, covering them in makeup. An interesting change, and we didn't actually get to see too much of Rapture during this intro section, as we head to Elizabeth's contact. It just so happens to be someone inside Sander Cohen's club. Remember the crazed up artist splicer from the first game? We'll need an artist mask to get inside, and he sent those masks to artists and craftsmen around here. We'll need to rob one. We try various businesses using Elizabeth as a distraction as we go and pinch one for ourselves, getting a bit more exposition about the art scene in Rapture. We eventually get into Cohen's club despite him not being a full slicer. It's still a disturbing sight. He's got a couple dancing while he paints them, and of course they don't weigh up as he'd imagine, resulting in him shocking them, swapping them out. We speak to Cohen and he calls us a real biscuit, which I love.
Who are you?
Name's DeWitt.
Is that right? My. This one's a real biscuit. Isn't he a biscuit, ladies?
I need to ask you a few questions.
Questions? Yes. Yes.
Before he'll answer any questions about Sally, he wants us to dance for him, and surprisingly, Booker dances with Elizabeth, and disappointed with our dance, we get shocked by Cohen.
Listen, we're not gonna keep...
Fitzpatrick!
Elizabeth assumes our daughter is Sally, but we quickly correct her. Cohen sent us to find the girl in a bathysphere down to a sunken part of the city separated from the rest, Fontaine's department store, which gave me so much deja vu for sections of Arkham City, I really don't know why. The place was sunken here in an attempt of dealing with Fontaine and his goons. Now, this world was confirmed to be the mainline Rapture, but it doesn't line up entirely with the established lore, mostly due to design oversights. For one, the plasmids have been replaced with vigors. We've got a skyhook unique to this area, and a few other things we'll see later. For ages playing this too, I didn't realise I could cycle through every weapon I'd picked up. I thought I could only carry 2 at once. So in my footage you'll see me struggle, but it won't be as bad for you. Now, episode 1 of the DLC is us exploring this department store section, fighting to get a frost plasmid so we can advance to where the little sister is. This is a special plasmid unique to this place, even though there was an ice one in the main games. Souchong, while working under Fontaine, had stolen some of Fink's ideas through the tears. This Booker had lost his girl in the same way the other Bookers had, allegedly. We chase Sally through the vents, shutting all the hatches, which are unique to this DLC, and activating the heating in this place to smoke her out, much to Booker's chagrin. We fight one Big Daddy when this happens, and the thing has an extendable drill, likely unique to it because it needs a means of getting us off the skyhooks, but again, it goes against the established Big Daddy lore. I've no clue why they added that in when they could have just had it shock the lines or something. It's a rough old fight, but eventually we get to Sally in the vent she's been herded to.
Look at Sarah. Huh? She's come to see you. We're going home. Do you want to go home?
We have a brain blast and reveal the Booker here is actually a Comstock, who when attempting to pull Anna through had decapitated her. We weren't a Booker at all, we were a Comstock, who had asked the Lutesses to send us to Rapture as some sort of penance, a world where there was never an Anna in the first place. The penny drops and a Big Daddy puts his drill through us, ending episode 1, taking out the rogue Comstock. The only problem I have here is that if there's an infinite number of universes, then why did only one Comstock escape the Purge? It's a case of either they all escape or none of them do when you're at that scale. You could argue Elizabeth is taking out an infinite number of escapees, but it's confirmed that this specific Rapture is the same Bioshock 1 and 2 Rapture. It just doesn't write as well as Infinite did, it's not a neat ending. Episode 2 has Elizabeth in the streets of Paris enjoying an outdoor cafe until the guilt of them burning Sally and abandoning her gets to her. So she chooses to sacrifice all her powers to condense all the potential Elizabeth into herself and heads back, right in time for Atlas to find us.
This ain't a sporting event. Put a bullet in her. No need to torture the poor girl. We're not animals, you know.
A hallucination of DeWitt convinces us to tell Atlas we're Sushong's lab assistant and that will help him get back to Rapture. We've not got any powers anymore and we're just a normal girl, so we'll need to rely on stealth. Our melee attacks don't damage enemies unless it's a perfect stealth kill. We do get an invisibility plasmid. We can lockpick, have a crossbow, and I'd advise you to avoid direct combat at all cost. You're meant to be a frail young girl, and having an actual stealth romp through Rapture is so much fun. I feel like they could have done so much more with this, and I'd have loved more of it in Episode 1. Episode 2, from a gameplay perspective, is a perfect expansion in terms of gameplay. But to cut a long story very short, we traipse around aggravating Ryan but choosing not to side with him, and using Sushong's tear device to go back to Columbia after fixing it. We take some quantum particles responsible for floating the city, and we use those to float this section of Rapture. Though as can be expected, Atlas double crosses us. Elizabeth should have been able to see this ahead of time, but she's forgotten it somehow. Again, we let him double cross us. Before he can kill us, we tell him we can help him find his ace in the hole.
Bit over 1/4 of an inch of bone between the pick and your prefrontal lobe. And that's where this little fella comes in.
We somehow cause the Big Daddies to bond with the Little Sisters, copying us with a songbird, even if Bioshock 1 and 2 suggested the imprinting was different. We find the notes describing Jack from the first game and hand them to Atlas. We don't get Sally back, and we witness Jack crashing the plane from the first game, tying up the loop. It's a crap ending, honestly. I can see what they were trying to do. Someone suggested the writer was just trying to kill Elizabeth off so the licensees couldn't use her in the future, but I really didn't care for this ending at all. It tried to be clever, making this big loop that just wasn't needed and wasn't even chronologically accurate. Atlas should even be in the department store according to the book. No good. Let's wrap the games up here. Burial at Sea, the final narrative chapter in the Bioshock series, serves as a bridge that ties together all the games, even if its narrative is made of popcorn and bubblegum. Despite not saving Sally initially, she kickstarts the chain of events that lead to Bioshock 1, and it canonises the good ending, if you believe it should be canonised. Again, a design choice I really spit at. Looking at the Bioshock series as a whole, it's a collection of deeply personal stories wrapped in grand dystopian settings. The original Bioshock introduced us to Rapture as a failed objectivist utopia, bringing an aesthetic that I hadn't really seen anywhere else before. Plasmids, Big Daddies, the deep blue sea, and that would you kindly twist was monumental at the time. Bioshock 2 returned us to that city, but with a much tighter focus, exploring love, connection, and sacrifice, but through the lens of a Big Daddy and his little sister. You have the same political commentary, this time looking at collectivism, but really the story was so different that it was an enjoyable sequel. It didn't try to copy the first game, it just kind of built its own thing in the same world. Minerva's Den just carried that through. Then came Infinite, flipping the script with Columbia, the city in the sky that turns out to be just like Rapture. We've just gotten there before the fall. It's a multiverse twist. Booker and Comstock are obviously one and the same, and that's probably divisive among fans, but I really enjoyed it. It was nice to see an Amish superstate as well. When you wrap it all up in a neat bow, the Bioshock series isn't just about exploring ruins or fighting crackheads with magic. It shows a wide depth of characters and their stories. There's a ton of painful choices and cool moments that give fans so much to talk about, to empathise with. Whether it's in the depths of Rapture or the skies of Columbia, Bioshock is a one-of-a-kind series, and I'm really looking forward to the movie or series, whatever it is, coming out. I'm glad I got to talk about it in this video. If you have any thoughts on Rapture, Columbia, what I should cover next, leave a comment and let me know. If you're still here, consider subscribing too. It really does me a favour and helps out. But otherwise, over and out, smooth brains.
Sequence to allow for... Get away, you filthy little shit!